Hi, good afternoon, Gaurav.
या के निफ्टी के रिपोर्ट्स में एंड वी क्लिक्ड मतलब वी अचीव्ड अ टारगेट वी वर ट्रोल्ड बाय फ्यू 124-200 के आसपास का टारगेट है. व्हाट इज योर नियर टर्म टारगेट, व्हाट इज योर कैलेंडर ईयर 2024 टारगेट गिवन फंडामेंटल एंड टेक्निकल साइड?
Technical and there is a team for fundamentals also. So last year we had that with an points and all of the intel, whether it is quant or whether energy. I think these are the segments or pockets which should do better.
ओके सो 20,700 24 मैं तो वहीं रुक गया हूँ सर कि 24,000 है. मतलब दिल खुश हो रहा है कि चलो रन तो चलने ही वाला है. सो 24,200 एंड 700, सो बेसिकली 24,450 का मैं एवरेज लेके चलता हूँ आपके साथ. सो आई थिंक 24,450, देन इफ वी हैव टू मूव समवेयर अराउंड व्हाट 3,000 पॉइंट्स फ्रॉम हियर approximately from this
Correct,
level.
correct,
So
correct.
that is around 12% का move you are seeing in the market. So 12% move में उसे
So IT directionally, we still don't expect it to sort of significantly outperform because see, we are looking at market from a 1 year perspective. We are also looking at from a bit longish perspective also. And if you sort of look at the recent commentary from Accenture also, so while they delivered about 1% kind of a growth, their guidance was -2 to +2%. And you look at IT services grew at 5%. Largely, the expectation or what they're saying is that it will grow in mid single digit to high single digits. Consulting continues to sort of struggle. So discretionary spending is still sort of a sort of a struggle. And so the key takeaway is that since the deal wins have been good, so industry ideally should do better growth rate in the second half. Sum total, it is possible of a portfolio play from
okay.
that perspective. So we're not tactically going from a portfolio perspective, going overweight on IT
Okay.
stocks. Sort of obviously perform. The risk reward is quite favorable. So
Okay.
overall, if you look at there is very limited price performance you have seen. And our sense is that if anything positive triggers come by, then this sector could offer a lot more higher upside with relatively
200 पॉइंट की भी फॉल आ जाती है तो पीपल विल स्टार्ट सेइंग कि आईसीआईसीआई का ये रिपोर्ट ऐसा हुआ. फर्स्ट हाफ ऑफ सीवाई 24 एंड सेकंड हाफ ऑफ 24, डू यू एक्सपेक्ट वोलेटिलिटी टू वीकन बिकॉज ऑफ द जनरल इलेक्शंस?
So obviously, markets will not remain or will not perform in a linear fashion throughout the correction is very much possible any point of time, and that's a sort of a very healthy correction to it. When you get a news confirmation that largely you've got a stable government in place and Fed is sort of cutting rates, our sense is then you could see possibly profit taking sort of happening.
Okay.
But historical evidence says that you see weakness in the month of March and April. So let's see whether this pans out or not.
Exactly, and also the tax harvesting and all those stuff that people do, which where March month seems to be a very volatile month. Sir, one last question on this report because uh, we have seen this last year. So 16,800 हम गए थे, and I remember last time we were speaking about 16,200 to 16,400 being the support. So for this year, what is the major support coming up for CY24?
So major support what we have placed is 18,900 period of correction because then it becomes very difficult to sort of rebuild the portfolio. So for profit taking at regular intervals can be taken, but the overall broader suggestion would be that people should stay invested in the market and need not really sort of worry for this 5-10% kind of a correction. And corrections have
Okay.
been quick.
Okay. Okay. So, sir, themes would be our themes would be banking, power, and IT, and metals and IT, right? These are the four sectors that you're focusing on. Moving on, sir, I think a yearly report जब release होगी तो I'll take another session, a proper dedicated session there. Let us move on with this week's news. So, sir, there have been FII flows have also come back in the market. So, what is your take on these guys coming back at this juncture? December they don't come, they just go away.
So it's a pleasant surprise what you're getting, but largely I think it's been triggered by after the US Fed hinted that they are at the end of the tightening cycle and the expectation of 3 rate cuts next year. Possibly market is expecting 5 rate cuts. So, for example, you still have a number of data which will come by. So, for example, I think you will have inflation data expected. But overall sense is that FI flows have resumed. We have seen dollar sort of weakening. So we've 43,000 odd crore kind of inflows what we have seen in this current month itself.
Yeah.
And good part is that overall this year we're seeing a healthy inflows of about 1.25 lakh crores. So that's good. I think more the merrier.
Okay, that's great. Good news बात कर ली, higher targets बात कर ली. There was a bad news, and there was last week only कि कुछ vessel पे attack हो गया, I think in some Somalians. I don't remember the news exactly, and people were calling it as a sell-off trigger for sell-off in the markets. And Tuesday, Wednesday को जो हुआ वो थोड़ा और उसको मतलब लोग होते हैं ना कि बहाना निकालना होता है कि fall कैसे हुआ. So let's talk facts here. So what is your take on this news, sir?
So, whatever we are picking up, largely it looks like that the shipping companies have announced a temporary pause in all the shipments which goes through the Red Sea route. And typically, 10% of the world GDP sort of moves from that space. And you look at bigger shipping majors like Maersk, or you look at MSC, or a number of other oil companies like BP. So they are sort of mentioning that there'll be a temporary pause there, and they'll take a longer route, which takes about 14, 15 odd days. In fact, we have seen some of the Indian companies also sort of commenting is that one, it will lead to higher freight cost. The insurance premium had already sort of gone up. And I think one more implication for some of the companies would be that while the freight cost obviously has gone up, the challenge would be that there was an expectation that the EXIM volumes will recover in Q3. But now it looks like that the EXIM volume normalization is going to happen in Q4. So direct impact companies which are going to get directly impacted by this would be Adani Ports, Gujarat Pipavav Port, you have Gateway District Park. So these are some of the companies which will get impacted. But I think the impact is not going to be severe because it's only a postponement of normalization by a quarter. Hopefully, our sense is that this is not going to sort of escalate big time. And like I said, the only the 10% of the world GDP sort of moves from here. Another good aspect is that so while we are talking about negative, what we are also sort of picking up is that Angola has
Yeah.
is decided to sort of leave OPEC. Now, OPEC typically produces 30 million barrels per day of oil, which is one third of the overall global crude oil demand and supply. And they produce about 1.1 million barrels. They wanted to sort of take it to 1.7, 1.8. But I think we all know that OPEC has been trying to artificially lift prices. A good part is that you're seeing cracks in one of the biggest cartels globally, which is there. And I think while oil hasn't reacted so much, but our sense is that this is sort of a good news for us if oil remains subdued because this cartel sort of falling apart. So let's see the developments, how it pans out. But I think it is a slight positive for us as of now.
Absolutely. So getting you back to that the freight thing. So the Red Sea attack thing. So any positive company, because I think all cargo today was one of the like, all cargo and these logistic companies will spike up their prices and all those stuff. Then can be a direct beneficiary of this event that is going on.
So we don't track oil cargo, but there is a corporate restructuring going on where they are looking to sort of segregate or demerge their overseas business and largely sort of create a bigger entity domestically. So my sense is the price movement was largely because of that.
Okay.
But I think overall sense is that if the freight rates go higher, it is positive for some of the shipping companies and negative for ports.
Okay. So my next question is on, we were talking about IT sector. So there was a guidance from Accenture and you were talking about it. So आप Accenture के guidance के ऊपर एक detailed, what is your detailed view on that?
So like I highlighted, so Accenture is clearly saying that there are some markets like North America, which is still declining 1%. And mind you, North America is one of the biggest market for most of your Indian IT companies. And then you have verticals like, say, for example, communication and media, which is sort of declining. BFSI is again a big vertical, hasn't really grown for them. Overall guidance, they've sort of kept it same at 2 to 5%. What they're saying is that H2 is expected to witness growth acceleration, largely because like most of Indian IT companies, this company also has decent or sizable deal wins. So overall expectation is that you'll see a gradual recovery. So I think the only key takeaway is that you'll see gradual recovery and no major big upsides. But at the same time, you will see incremental improvement sort of coming in. So I think most of the negatives are largely priced in. So any kind of a positive news. I think one more thing what they highlighted was that on the AI front, they are looking to sort of double up the resources. So that's a sort of a element of positive
Yeah.
surprise, I think, which can come by. Let's see how it sort of pans out. But they are getting good amount of queries there. So I think that is a sort of a positive surprise.
Probably the catalyst IT sector needs. Probably the
Absolutely.
case. Yeah. So moving from IT, let's move to banking financial side. I think credit growth number have been great, and we are seeing good credit growth for this month as well. So have you got a chance to go through the data there?
So banking or BFSI in general is always in action. So every week you see some or the other measures being announced by RBI or some or the other segments are sort of getting impacted. Now, on the positive side, credit growth was good. So overall, 20% growth. But I think you need to sort of strip out the HDFC merger impact. So if you sort of exclude that, credit growth was still healthy at about 16.5%, largely driven by retail and MSME. The challenge always has been on the deposit side. So deposit is still growing at 13.5%. Your credit deposit ratio is still at 90%. So which means that the fight for deposit is still sort of
Yeah.
ongoing, and which also means that the cost of funds is going to be higher, and which also means that there will be pressure on margins unless banks sort of mitigate those margins with going into segments where the spreads are better.
Yeah.
So that way, I think credit growth is very robust. Like I said, I mean, with positive news, you have sort of a negative news also. But structurally, I would like this news largely because there was an element of fear that some of the evergreening is happening through the AIF route because it's a
Yes.
sort of a big pocket which has become. Now, in order to sort of curb that, RBI has advised banks, NBFCs, or small finance banks sort of not to invest in any of the AIFs where they have sort of given loan in the past 12 odd months. And if they have given, either they have to exit in 30 days or do 100% provisioning, so which is quite aggressive. And we have seen some of the NBFCs sort of getting hammered because of that. And I think prominent ones is, say, for example, Piramal. So there the impact overall is about 3,164 crores, which is 11% of their net worth. I think IFL Finance also will get impacted. So their capital adequacy probably could come down by more than 1%. One good part is that I think before this problem becomes bigger, RBI is sort of proactively sort of
Exactly.
trying to curb the evergreening. So while we are not liking the recent price reaction, what you've seen, but like the way RBI has previously increased the risk weightages, I think this measure is also, in a way, is going to make the system even more robust. So it's a tough call, but I think a good one.
Yeah, I think it's better to be proactive than reactive. मतलब बाद में
Absolutely.
बसड़ होने से अच्छा आप पहले ही इसको ठीक कर लो. That's the best thing. Sir, I think आपने AIF वाला part भी कहते हैं. I was supposed to ask you this. Next comes the focus on mining. I think government is planning to increase mining side because they want they want to reduce the dependency on imported coal. So looks good for mining and coal companies. So what is your take here?
So I'm trying to, or I'm started to sort of started liking the mining as a sector largely because I think when you sort of look at defense, initially it looked like that this is going to be small sector, but I think it has taken big shape. And I think mining is also something which can become a lot more bigger given the geographical spread we have got. And I think government is now looking very proactive in terms of the measures what being taken. So, for example, so to accelerate the overall extraction of critical minerals, government is willing to pay upfront 30% of the project cost, even to private companies. So that's very positive. Then I think they are going to call for second auctions, second round of auction, where they will offer more than 100 critical mineral blocks. And I think prior to that, if you look at the overall survey was largely done by government agencies. So now you're sort of incorporating even private players to sort of undertake that. Probably they can bid for exploration blocks. And on top of it, if you look at, like you said, coal is another element where, so while we sort of produce
Yeah.
decent amount of coal, but our requirement is so that we continue to sort of import even coal also. Coking coal, we are sort of helpless because in India, we are still to sort of explore.
Yeah.
I think the other aspect is that the government is looking to sort of benchmark some of the prices. So, for example, iron ore prices, they are looking to sort of benchmark to global indices. I think coal will be difficult because you are selling coal at subsidized rate. But I think steel value chain, if you look at most of the steel is sort of sold at market rate.
Yeah.
And we are seeing some of the operational benefits also coming in. So you look at companies like NMDC, while the price performance has been good, this used to trade at 5 multiples, now trading at 7 multiples. The production for the NMDC is up 17 odd percent this year. The production for Coal India is up about 12 odd percent. So they are on course to achieving 600 million tons kind of a target. They had already achieved 460 odd million tons, and they are looking at about 1,000 million tons next 3 4 years. So mining is getting interesting. I am not saying that this will become bigger, but I think all the ingredients are sort of taking shape for this
Exactly.
sector to sort of take wings, and which is why I'm sort of getting excited by this sector now.
Great. Well, I have one question to ask you. I just have a follow-up question on this. So there's a lot of things. They say mining, if you're trying to mine more coals, so we are actually expecting ki we power demand aane wala hai. So there'll be a good news for our thermal plants because if the coal intake, like coal mining goes up, the intake is there, the demand is there. So can this be a good shift for our power companies, especially the thermal side?
I don't think, Gaurav, we are going to build very large capacities on the thermal side. So I think what a power minister has said, that's about 80 odd thousand kind of a, or 80 gigawatt kind of a capacity is what we are looking at. But it's not only about coal. So there are a lot of minerals which are sort of required. I mean, be it lithium, be it number of other metals. Now, if you are sort of so one is we haven't really explored the entire India from a mineral perspective, largely because this has been the domain of the government, and they have their own had their own pace of working. And like it happened in case of oil. So in oil, if you look at, we have seen multiple blocks being awarded, but you hardly see the kind of output. But here it looks like on the mining side, government is looking to sort of correct a lot of historical mistakes. So which is why it's not only about coal. You require iron ore because if you are going from say 150 odd million tons of or 140 odd million tons of steel to 300 million tons, typically
Like,
you would require more than 400 million tons of iron ore.
yeah.
What NMDC produces is only some 45 or 46 million tons and expected to go up to 50 odd million tons. So you require massive capacities in most of the segments, given the overall need for it. And which is why I'm sort of getting bullish that things are a lot more running
Any
or
other
looking.
company then? I know you don't have the coverage, but any other company in this space apart from NMDC, which is present?
So you have a lot of companies like, say, for example, Moil. Then I'm still trying to recollect some more names.
Hindu Copper
But
is
you do
there?
have. So Hindustan Copper is there. So Hindustan Copper, largely our sense is that so they are producing some. I think they are looking to triple their production in the next 3 4 years. And mind you, when you sort of do go underground, the expenses and the time taken to sort of mine the mineral takes more longer, is costlier, bit risky. So from that perspective, you need a lot more sophistication in the business, and which is what the government is looking to sort of imbibe now.
Absolutely. Okay. Okay. So I think this sector is exciting you. So we will definitely see some reports and coverage coming out. So in future, I'll definitely ask you, कि, sir, क्या हुआ उस US क्या company मिल रही है? Moving on, we spoke about Accenture meet. There was one more company's meet, analyst meet, that was Siemens. So have you got, like, what is your take on the meet and the discussion with the management there?
So Siemens is another very important bellwether for big sector like capital goods. Now there are some interesting insights what they have come up with. One, I think what they're saying is that private sector is about to pick up because their capacity utilizations are at about 80% level. This was about 50% during pre-COVID times. Just definitely seen quite an improvement. And overall, whenever the capacity utilization inches towards 85%, that is where the trigger starts for more capex. Because this company, they expect to be a beneficiary of a lot of PLI schemes, and they are expecting capex on both the sides. So for public, they are expecting road, railways, and say power to sort of do the heavy lifting. On the private side, you have data centers, you have pharma, automotive, a lot of other sectors are expected to sort of contribute. One more thing is that see, you have a lot more renewable energy requirements. So obviously, the transmission requirement is going to be higher, both domestically and even globally also. And they also gave a picture in terms of, so for example, last year on the transmission side, the awarding was somewhere about 13,200 crore. This year, it has sort of been about 29,000 odd crore. So it's a fairly significant improvement in numbers. Good part is that they are highlighting is that capacity utilization levels are about to reach 85%, and it is a matter of time when this private sector capex picks up.
तो बेसिकली यू आर अगेन बुलिश ऑन दिस सेक्टर. यहाँ पे आप एलएनटी ये सब पे पहले बुलिश थे, सीमेंस पे भी आप बुलिश हो रहे हो. तो क्या पेरिश कहाँ हो, मतलब मेरे को तो नहीं लग रहा है. आई थिंक ओवरऑल हम सब जगह बुलिश ही रहने वाले, बिकॉज ऑटो, डिफेंस, बैंकिंग, नाउ आईटी आल्सो, मेटल्स आल्सो. आई थिंक ओवरऑल पूरा मार्केट अच्छा लग रहा है. आई थिंक 24,700 सर जल्दी जल्दी लेके आ जाना चाहिए. सो देयर आर फ्यू
That is what we are
कमेंट्स इन
hoping for.
देयर आर फ्यू कमेंट्स इन द सेक्शन. एक किसी ने शिकायत की है, तो सॉरी, मतलब मेरे को लेना पड़ेगा ना, बोलेंगे कि डिफिकल्ट क्वेश्चन लेते नहीं है. सो इट इज they are saying ki, sir, in 2019 or so, ESAB call was given. I don't know which company it is. It was given now somewhere around 800 rupees. Now it has moved 6x. And why don't you cover this stock? Is the query which comes from Mr. Ramasundram Venkatram.
So I think what also happens is that when you sort of cover companies, if the price appreciation is very high and you can't really justify it, becomes difficult to sort of come up with an update. And the other aspect is that if volumes are thin, then you always have a worry whether the price discovery is right or not. So typically, some of these MNC names always have this challenge of lower volumes. And we all know that if we are going to sort of recommend some of these stocks where the volumes are low, then it might be possible that it only benefits only a particular section of investors. So we are very conscious of the fact that whatever we recommend now has decent amount of volumes and not very thinly traded. So you get a number of stocks where you would not see volumes, but those are good names. But sadly for us, we would want to have that volume criteria in place. So I think which is why it's very difficult for us to come up with an update on some of the stocks.
Okay, and he's also saying ki we used to have auto numbers updated. We are not having it from past few months. So will that be the case? Well, we will be able to give the update on auto numbers.
So we will, I think I've been discussing auto numbers as and when they come out every month. But yes, we will have updates on auto numbers.
Yeah. Actually, Ramasundram sir, we on every whenever the auto numbers are released, we discuss it on a market wrap, and we discuss it on a detailed basis for every company, right from two-wheelers to four-wheelers to the large commercial vehicles to everybody. So that's there. And sir, please share your view on mid and small caps. वो थोड़ा बढ़ गया ना, तो थोड़ा पूछ रहे हैं अभी क्या करें.
So I've been always maintaining that. I mean, I think previously I have spoken about on mid caps and small caps. So our sense is that this kind of a market momentum is more like 2003 to 2007, which we had seen. And at that point of time, I think the Nifty did about 5 to 6 times kind of a jump. Mid cap, or mid cap or small cap fund, if you look at that, delivered about 9x. But if you are wanting 9x returns, obviously it will come with a higher volatility. So average correction in small caps or mid caps is in the range of 17 to 20 odd %.
Yeah.
And if you can sort of withstand that, I think the mid cap and small cap look very attractive, especially the small cap, because that's a sort of a far more bigger universe. But in case if you can't, then I think large caps are absolutely good. I think our sense is that this year they should do more catch up, and obviously they correct less.
Okay, perfect. Um, Rajesh sir is asking glitch in the market was seen. Rajesh sir, this we won't be able to do it because the research team is here, not the product team and the IT team. So we'll not be able to answer questions on the glitches that we had. Hello sir, what's your view on Balmer Lorry today? It's up 20% upper circuit. Are we covering Balmer Lorry sir by any
We
chance?
don't.
We don't. Okay, so I'm just skipping it. European Union leaving heavy taxes on steel company suppliers. So will that have any effect on these companies?
So why we are sort of turning positive on say metal as a pack is that if you look at from a capacity of about 140 million tons, we are likely to do about 300 million tons next 5 6 years. And that requires a massive capex of 11 lakh crores. And
Hmm.
it cannot happen that the industry is left at the or left in cold because what we are also seeing is that directly indirectly you see dumping of steel sort of happening from some of the pockets, especially from China.
Hmm.
So when you're sort of doing so much, obviously, our sense is that the government will definitely take some measures to sort of protect the industry. Timing is something which we still don't know, but our sense is that a good part also is that we don't have a legacy problem the way a lot of other European nations or even US based steel companies or Chinese based steel companies are there. So good part is that one, we are looking to sort of lower our carbon emissions. So which is why if you look at some of the players like Tata Steel are experimenting with newer forms of energy, the likes of hydrogen in their overall energy mix. So I think even if European Union goes with some of the measure or some kind of a green tax, which again is a sort of a negotiation which is sort of going on, I think Indian industry is still sort of better placed. So from that perspective, I think compared to China, probably I think we are slightly far more better placed. And which is why, like I said, this is one of the few sectors which is looking very good from a risk reward perspective. Timing is something which is very difficult to predict.
Okay. Sir, we have KG sir. He is one of our regular viewers. Every show, मतलब like expiry live stream से लेके जितने भी webinars हम करते हैं, he is a regular viewer. So he has two questions on two stocks. One is PSP projects and Midhani, Mishra Dhatu. He's asking, can we expect higher? Can we hold them for longer period, or should we exit at given targets? I think PSP is one of our Shubh Nivesh pick, if I'm not wrong.
Correct. So PSP has done very well. So their margin profile has been good because they have been doing a lot of building related projects in Gujarat. And I think as and when their capacity sort of increases, they would look to do so, or they will undertake a lot more bigger projects. Good part for any infra company is that if they're maintaining this working capital discipline or not really sort of taking up projects which dilute their margins. So PSP sort of does well in both the counts, and which is why we like this company. Yeah. So I think it is a good fundamental pick. On Midhani, our sense is that when you sort of do a lot more localization of engine components, because engine is a big component for a chopper or whether it
Hmm.
is an aircraft, and you for
Chandrayaan
that
also.
you and for that you require a lot of titanium alloys, a lot of specialized alloys. So I think this company has a role to play there. Probably the growth is going to be back-ended, which is why we feel that this stock is meant to be held for a slightly more longer period of time, unlike other defense PSUs. And this is another stock which you have sort of
Yeah,
recommended.
this is your favorite, I know. This is one
Chal.
of our Chandrayaan portfolio. I think Chandrayaan picks or something. Gaganyaan is also coming, sir. So okay, so KG sir, you can hold these stocks for a higher target. I think, sir, I'll request you to come out with if you can just give a revised target for some of the picks because the rest it becomes very difficult for them when to take an exit. Two more questions are there. I'll just wind up after them. Archit Maria is asking, what is your long-term view, long-term and short-term view on paper sectors?
So paper sector is something which we have not tracked, although it has done very well price-wise. Historically, we have not tracked because we always felt that this is one sector which always faces challenges from a raw material sourcing perspective. The other issue is that the world is getting a lot more digitized. So paper demand is structurally going to be lower than the GDP growth rate. Compared to that, if you look at cement or steel, when you are in a building phase, typically the demand for these components or cement or steel is higher than the GDP growth rate. So which is why I haven't tracked paper as a sector, though the stocks have done well.
Yeah.
And I still don't believe it's a very high growth sector. But yes,
Especially
I'll
with
be
these
having.
ESG, save paper, save trees, and all these, and moving towards digital, I think, thoda, it's like we move towards the new age companies that for the next few things. Okay, sir, your view on Titagar, Wagon, RVNL, IRFC from current levels. So you can pick one or you can pick three, up to you.
So while the stocks have rallied up, expectation would be that they should do some consolidation. But long-term opportunity definitely is quite good because the kind of capex railways are talking about. And when you sort of look at on the wagon side itself, the kind of capex or kind of the wagon requirement which is coming up, I think most of your players are booked out for the next 1 or 2 years. They really do not have capacity to supply.
Okay, sir, a lot more questions are coming. Are you okay taking or should I?
So I can
I'll
take some more questions. Yeah.
I'll take one last then. ठीक है, एक last कर लेते हैं. Because I know I've already extended the session. So, sir, Ambuja Cement we have I think आज हमने exit करवाया है from our portfolio. So I'll skip that. NT, can you please review chemical companies like Navin Fluorine, Gujarat Fluorochem? What is
So in chemicals, what we have been historically liking more of fluorine chemistry because fluorine chemistry has been finding favor in number of new areas. So Gujarat Fluorochem definitely looks good. Has been part of some of the portfolios, and I think this is one of the few stocks which has got what I call various levers for growth across new age industries. So be it solar cells or be it EVs. So which is why we feel that this company has got all the ingredients to sort of ride whatever trends or emerging trends we are going to witness in years to come.
Okay. So I think we'll wind up here. Thank you so much, Pankaj, sir, for taking time. We extended the session. I think viewers, what you can do is if we have not taken your questions, you can come back on this video, put it in the comment section. I will ask sir, I'll take your questions with sir, hopefully in the next session. So that's how we'll do it. We'll not want to miss out on any questions that you have posted. We'll try to do it, but we'll do it next Friday when the next session of Market Drive. So thank you so much, Pankaj sir, and wishing everybody have like Merry Christmas, sorry, Happy Christmas, everybody a very Merry Christmas and New Year अगले साल मतलब अगले हफ्ते कर लेंगे.
Yes, Merry Christmas to all the viewers.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Bye.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on the bell icon to never miss an update from ICICI Direct.